You are just a janitor. How can you fix this $1 million machine?
The diamond bracelet caught the light as Victoria Sterling's manicured finger pointed at him like a loaded weapon. A janitor, she hissed, her voice dripping with venom that could corrode steel. You actually think you can fix what 67 MIT engineers couldn't? Her eyes narrowed into slits of pure contempt. Here's what's going to happen, maintenance boy. You fix this $2 million engine in the next 2 hours, in front of everyone, or security throws you out of this building forever. And when you fail, I'll make sure your name becomes a cautionary tale in every tech company from here to Seattle. Jamal Washington's calloused hands didn't shake. Not even a tremor. He'd been waiting his entire life for this moment, though he never imagined it would come wrapped in public humiliation and broadcast live to 50,000 viewers. What Victoria Sterling didn't know, what none of them knew, was that the broken engine had been whispering its secrets to him every night for 6 weeks. And dead men's wisdom runs deeper than any Ivy League degree. Detroit, 1995. The kind of summer where heat rises from cracked pavement in waves that make the whole world shimmer like a mirage. 12-year-old Jamal pressed his face against the garage window, watching his grandfather Samuel work impossible magic on a Mustang that 3 certified mechanics had declared beyond saving. The old man's hands moved across the engine block with the tenderness of a father touching his sleeping child's face. Come here, boy. Samuel's voice carried the weight of a man who'd broken color barriers at Ford Motor Company when such things required the courage of a warrior. Time you learn what these fancy engineers with their degrees will never understand. That summer, while other kids conquered video games, Jamal learned to hear what machines were really saying. Samuel would place the boy's small hand on a running engine and make him feel the heartbeat. 8,000 explosions per minute, son. 4 cylinders talking to each other in perfect harmony. This machine doesn't care about your skin color or your diploma. It only speaks to those who truly listen. The old man had a saying that became Jamal's North Star: white folks going to test you twice as hard, assume you're half as smart. But engines don't lie. When you fix something they couldn't, suddenly your color doesn't matter so much. Samuel died under the hood of a Cadillac during Jamal's senior year, massive heart attack, his weathered hands still gripping a wrench. The funeral overflowed with Ford engineers who spoke of his genius like he'd been some kind of mechanical prophet. The garage closed forever. The tools were sold to pay medical bills. What Jamal inherited wasn't money. It was something far more valuable, a way of seeing machines that couldn't be taught in any classroom on Earth. 2 years later, Jamal's mother was diagnosed with stage 3 breast cancer. The choice crystallized with brutal simplicity. Transfer to a 4-year university meant student loans, living expenses, time away. His mother needed him more than he needed a prestigious degree. So he stayed. He worked 3 jobs while maintaining perfect grades at community college. Nights at a gas station. Weekends at an auto parts store. Early mornings cleaning office buildings, his eyes burning with exhaustion as he studied mechanical engineering textbooks and library chairs between classes. Dr. Martinez, who'd taught at MIT before seeking quieter academic waters, pulled him aside after a presentation that left the entire class speechless. You have a gift that I've seen in maybe 5 students in 30 years. Don't let circumstances dim that light. But circumstances were a relentless tide. Cancer treatments consumed every spare dollar. His transfer applications to 4-year universities remained unsubmitted in a folder he'd labeled someday with permanent marker that felt increasingly ironic. 3 years into his maintenance position at Tech Vanguard Industries, Jamal had perfected the art of invisibility. He pushed his cart through marble hallways, past executives who stepped around him like he was furniture. His official title read technical consultant, but everyone knew the truth. He emptied trash cans. He mopped floors. He endured the daily humiliation of being the most educated janitor in Silicon Valley, his community college engineering degree framed in his studio apartment like a museum piece commemorating dreams that had died young. But late at night, when the offices emptied and silence claimed the building, Jamal would study the engine. The revolutionary AI-guided prototype that was supposed to change everything, sitting broken on the executive conference table like a technological corpse. For 6 weeks, he'd listened to it. Really listened, the way Samuel had taught him. And the engine had been talking. The morning everything changed started like any other exercise in corporate cruelty. Victoria Sterling's voice carried through the boardroom like a whip crack. $67 million. She slammed her palm against the conference table hard enough to make coffee cups jump. That's what we lose if this engine doesn't work by Friday. $67 million that could have bought us market dominance in 3 major cities. The engineering team sat frozen in their expensive suits, staring at the same error codes they'd been analyzing for weeks. Marcus Brooks, MIT class of 2019, had dark circles under his eyes that makeup couldn't hide anymore. His team had tried everything. Software patches. Hardware replacements. Complete system reinstalls. They'd even brought in a feng shui consultant after someone suggested the office energy might be interfering with the machine's electronic harmony. Victoria's eyes swept the room like searchlights hunting for someone to sacrifice. Maybe we have too many people who don't belong here, she said, her gaze lingering on Jamal as he quietly replaced the water pitcher. Dead weight dragging down our entire operation. The German investors were arriving Wednesday. 100 million euros in potential funding. Klaus Müller, CEO of Autotech Bavaria, flying from Munich specifically to evaluate their engine technology. Dr. Elena Rodriguez, legendary Tesla engineer with 37 patents, coming to provide technical assessment. These weren't people who accepted excuses. They identified engineering flaws with surgical precision, and their reputation could make or break a company overnight. The final diagnostic test Thursday morning failed spectacularly. The engine filled the boardroom with smoke, triggered the fire suppression system, left engineers standing dripping wet with ruined laptops and reputations hanging by threads thinner than spider silk. Klaus Müller watched the disaster with Germanic stoicism that revealed nothing. Dr. Rodriguez took detailed notes, her pen moving in sharp, precise strokes that felt like she was documenting a crime scene. Victoria convened an emergency all-hands meeting. 200 employees packed into the auditorium, faces reflecting various stages of panic and resignation. The German investors sat in the front row like a tribunal. Jamal stood in the back near the emergency exits, invisible as always. "Ladies and gentlemen," Victoria began, her voice steady despite trembling hands. "We face our greatest challenge. Effective immediately, we will begin cost reduction measures. Non-essential personnel will be terminated, starting with positions that don't directly contribute to solving this crisis." The room fell silent except for the whisper of air conditioning and muffled sobs from the back rows. Victoria's gaze swept across faces, hunting for someone to sacrifice. That's when Jamal made his mistake. He raised his hand. "Ma'am," his voice carried clearly through the microphone-enhanced acoustics. "I think the problem might be in the harmonic frequency calibration, not the software integration." 200 heads turned toward him like sunflowers following light. The German investors leaned forward with sudden interest. Dr. Rodriguez raised an eyebrow, her expression shifting from boredom to curiosity. Victoria's face transformed. Surprise gave way to rage, then to something far more dangerous. Opportunity. A cruel smile spread across her lips like poison spreading through water. Why simply fire him when she could destroy him publicly? Make an example that would terrify every employee into absolute compliance while entertaining her German guests with American corporate theater? Well, she said, stepping away from the podium, her red Louboutin heels clicking against the stage like a countdown timer. "Our maintenance consultant has an opinion about advanced engineering." The word maintenance dripped with venom. "Jamal Washington, isn't it? The man who empties our trash cans thinks he understands what 67 MIT and Harvard graduates couldn't solve." Nervous laughter rippled through the audience. This was corporate blood sport, and everyone knew it. Dr. Rodriguez pulled out her leather notebook, uncapping an expensive fountain pen. In her 40 years of engineering, she'd witnessed countless moments when breakthrough solutions emerged from unexpected sources. Her mentor at Stanford had taught her never to dismiss insights based on their origin. Genius wore many disguises. "Since you're so confident," Victoria continued, her voice rising with theatrical flair, "here's your chance to prove it. Fix our $2 million engine that stumped our best engineers for 6 weeks. Do it in front of everyone. Our board. Our investors. Our entire company." She gestured toward the German delegation like a game show host presenting prizes. "These gentlemen represent 100 million euros in potential funding. They came to see American innovation at work. Let's give them a show they'll never forget." Klaus Mueller's expression remained unreadable, but his assistant was already typing notes on a tablet. Whatever happened next would be documented, analyzed, reported back to Munich. Victoria's voice dropped to a whisper that the microphone caught and amplified. "Here are the stakes, Jamal. You have exactly 2 hours to diagnose and repair what our MIT-trained engineers couldn't fix in 6 weeks. If you succeed, which we both know you won't, I'll personally promote you to senior engineering consultant with a salary that matches your inflated ego." The auditorium buzzed with shocked murmurs. Senior engineering consultant positions paid 6 figures and came with stock options. It was absurd for someone whose current job description included emptying waste baskets. "But when you fail," Victoria continued, her smile sharp enough to draw blood, "you're not just fired. You're banned from this building permanently. Security will escort you out, and I'll personally ensure that every tech company in Silicon Valley knows about your spectacular failure." She snapped her fingers and 2 security guards materialized at the auditorium's side doors like summoned demons. This was intimidation theater designed to terrify anyone else who might consider challenging authority. Dr. Rodriguez stood up suddenly, her movement commanding attention throughout the room. "I'll serve as technical witness," she announced, her voice carrying the authority of someone who'd never been questioned about engineering matters. "This test requires neutral oversight to ensure fairness and accuracy." Victoria's smile flickered momentarily. She hadn't anticipated this development. Dr. Rodriguez's involvement legitimized the challenge, transformed it from corporate humiliation into a formal technical evaluation. Klaus Mueller nodded approvingly. "Excellent. Herr Washington, you have our complete attention. We are curious to see American problem-solving methods." The auditorium erupted in whispered conversations. Employees pulled out smartphones, already composing texts and social media posts about the unfolding drama. "Fine," Victoria said, her voice tight with barely controlled anger. "Dr. Rodriguez can witness your inevitable failure. But I'm adding one more condition." She gestured toward the cameras Tech Vanguard used for employee training. "We're live streaming this entire challenge on our company's social media accounts. Let the world see what happens when unqualified people attempt jobs beyond their capabilities." Within minutes, the company's Instagram and LinkedIn accounts were broadcasting live footage to thousands of followers. Marketing assistants scrambled to set up professional lighting. Social media managers crafted hashtags. Tech Vanguard Challenge. Engineering Test. Innovation at Work. Jamal stood motionless throughout this corporate circus, his maintenance cart still beside him like a faithful companion. His calloused hands remained steady despite the earthquake of attention focused on his every breath. This was the moment Samuel Washington had prepared him for, not through specific training, but through a lifetime of understanding that engines responded to competence regardless of credentials. Dr. Rodriguez walked down the auditorium aisle, her heels making confident sounds against polished concrete. She stopped directly in front of Jamal, studying his face with the intensity of someone who'd spent decades evaluating technical talent. "Young man," she said quietly, her voice meant only for his ears. "Are you absolutely certain you want to proceed? This isn't just about fixing an engine. Your entire future is at stake." Jamal met her gaze steadily. "Ma'am, I've been listening to engines my whole life. This one's been trying to tell us what's wrong. We just haven't been hearing it correctly." Dr. Rodriguez nodded slowly. Something in his eyes reminded her of the young engineers she'd mentored at Tesla. That combination of knowledge, intuition, and quiet confidence that separated true talent from mere education. "Very well," she said loud enough for the microphones to capture. "Let's see what you can do." The challenge was officially accepted. 2 hours to prove or destroy a lifetime of hidden expertise. The engine waited in the boardroom like a mechanical judge, its silent testimony about to determine one man's destiny. The executive boardroom transformed into an amphitheater of judgment. 200 employees pressed against the glass walls, their faces creating a mosaic of anticipation and doubt. The German investors arranged themselves in executive leather chairs like a tribunal. Klaus Müller checking his platinum watch with Germanic precision. The broken engine dominated the conference table like a technological altar. Chrome and steel components caught the LED lighting, creating shadows that seemed to pulse with mechanical possibility. Diagnostic equipment surrounded the machine. Laptops displaying endless error codes. Oscilloscopes tracing electromagnetic signatures. Temperature sensors monitoring thermal patterns that had confounded engineers for 6 weeks. Victoria Sterling stood near the floor-to-ceiling windows, her silhouette framed against the Silicon Valley skyline. Her smartphone live-streamed the scene to Tech Vanguard's social media accounts. Viewer numbers climbing rapidly as word spread through tech industry networks. The comments section filled with predictions, mostly favoring spectacular failure. Jamal approached the engine slowly, his maintenance uniform a stark contrast to the expensive suits surrounding him. The crowd's whispers died as he placed both hands flat against the engine block, closing his eyes with the reverence of a musician tuning a precious instrument. The first 30 seconds stretched like hours. Employees exchanged skeptical glances. A few engineering team members smirked, already composing resignation letters in case the company collapsed from this public relations disaster. But Dr. Rodriguez watched with growing interest as Jamal's expression changed from concentration to recognition. "It's fighting itself," Jamal said suddenly, his voice carrying clearly through the boardroom's acoustics. "The AI system is perfect. The mechanical components are perfect. But they're speaking different languages." He opened his eyes, looking directly at Klaus Müller. "Sir, this engine was manufactured in Munich using metric specifications, correct?" Klaus Müller's eyebrows rose slightly. "This is correct. Our precision is to hundredths of millimeter. But the AI calibration was programmed here in California. American programming typically uses imperial measurements." Victoria's confident expression flickered momentarily. She hadn't expected technical dialogue that revealed actual knowledge of the manufacturing process. Jamal nodded, his hands still resting on the engine. "That's the first problem. The AI is trying to control mechanical components that are 0.003 inches different from what it expects. It's like trying to conduct an orchestra when every instrument is tuned to a slightly different key." "May I start the engine?" Jamal asked Dr. Rodriguez, who nodded with growing curiosity. The machine roared to life, filling the boardroom with the deep rumble of controlled explosions. But where others heard normal engine sounds, Jamal heard a conversation. His grandfather's voice echoed in his memory. "Engines speak to those who know their language." "Listen," he said, raising his voice over the mechanical symphony. "At 2800 RPM, there's a harmonic frequency mismatch. The pistons are hitting their optimal rhythm, but the AI sensors are reading vibrations that don't match the programmed parameters." He pointed to the diagnostic screen displaying incomprehensible data streams. "Your engineers have been chasing software ghosts when the problem is mechanical harmony. The engine runs for exactly 14 minutes and 37 seconds before overheating because that's when the harmonic mismatch reaches critical resonance." Dr. Rodriguez stepped forward, her engineering instincts fully engaged. "Explain the harmonic theory." "Every engine has a natural frequency. The RPM range where all components work in perfect synchronization. This engine was designed to operate at 3400 RPM optimal efficiency. But the AI system was calibrated to expect imperial measurements, so it's trying to maintain a different harmonic frequency than what the mechanical components can actually deliver. He gestured toward the oscilloscope displaying wave patterns. See those irregular spikes at 14-minute intervals? That's the engine trying to find its natural rhythm while the AI forces it into an artificial pattern. Marcus Brooks, the MIT trained team leader, pushed through the crowd. That's impossible. We tested harmonic frequencies extensively during development. Jamal looked at him with respectful disagreement. You tested the frequencies that the AI was programmed to expect. But the actual mechanical components are singing a slightly different song. Klaus Mueller exchanged glances with his associates. This wasn't the rambling of an unqualified maintenance worker. This was sophisticated acoustic engineering analysis that addressed fundamental design integration issues. Jamal moved to the engine's technical documentation, spreading blueprints across the polished conference table. His finger traced specifications with the precision of someone who'd studied these documents during countless late-night cleaning sessions. The crankshaft was machined in Munich to 87.63 mm diameter, he said, pointing to German engineering specifications. But the AI calibration assumes 3.450 inches, which converts to 87.63 mm. Mathematically identical, but mechanically different. Dr. Rodriguez leaned over the blueprints, her fountain pen following his calculations. Continue. Manufacturing tolerance in Germany allows plus or minus 0.001 mm. American tolerance typically allows plus or minus 0.005 inches, which is roughly 0.127 millimeters. The German components are manufactured to much tighter tolerances than the AI system expects. He pulled out a digital caliper from the diagnostic equipment, measuring various engine components with practiced efficiency. The pistons, connecting rods, even the timing chain. Everything is manufactured to German precision standards, but the AI assumes American tolerance ranges. This creates a cascading synchronization error. Jamal continued, his confidence growing as the technical logic unfolded. The AI constantly micro-adjusts, trying to compensate for imprecisions that don't actually exist. It's like a conductor trying to correct musicians who are already playing perfectly. Victoria's live stream comments exploded with engineering discussions. Viewers were sharing the stream across professional networks. Several Tesla and Ford engineers joined the conversation with technical questions and grudging admiration. Marcus Brooks studied the measurements, his expression shifting from skepticism to amazement. The tolerance differential creates cumulative timing errors, he muttered, his MIT training finally connecting with Jamal's intuitive analysis. Klaus Mueller stood up, examining the measurements himself. German engineering pride demanded verification of any claims about manufacturing precision. After several minutes of careful calculation, he nodded slowly. The analysis is mathematically correct. So how do we fix it? Dr. Rodriguez asked, her notebook filled with technical observations. Instead of proposing expensive software modifications or hardware replacements, Jamal walked to a storage cabinet containing spare parts. He selected what appeared to be a simple metal disc, roughly the size of a hockey puck with carefully calculated perforations. A harmonic dampener, he explained, holding the component up for everyone to see. Instead of reprogramming the AI to match German tolerances or remanufacturing components to American specifications, we add this resonance buffer to bridge the frequency gap. Victoria's confident expression cracked completely. You're suggesting a $50 part can solve a problem that's cost us 6 weeks and millions in consulting fees? Sometimes the most elegant engineering solutions are the simplest, Jamal replied. The AI and the engine are both perfect. They just need a translator to help them communicate effectively. He began installing the dampener with movements that spoke of years of mechanical experience. His hands worked with the confident precision of someone who'd rebuilt countless engines in Detroit garages, community college workshops, and late-night apartment complex maintenance sessions. Dr. Rodriguez watched every movement with professional fascination. Where did you learn harmonic resonance engineering? My grandfather taught me that engines have souls, Jamal said, tightening the final connection. You can't fix a soul with software updates. You have to listen to what it's trying to tell you, then help it find its natural rhythm. The installation took 12 minutes. The dampener fit perfectly into existing mounting points, requiring no modifications to the original design. It was engineering elegance at its purest. Solving complex problems through simple, intuitive solutions. Ready for testing, Jamal announced, stepping back from the engine. The boardroom fell silent. Klaus Mueller checked his watch again. 1 hour and 47 minutes had elapsed. If Jamal's analysis was correct, the engine should now operate flawlessly. If he was wrong, his career and reputation would be destroyed in the most public way possible. Dr. Rodriguez positioned herself at the diagnostic equipment, her experienced eyes ready to interpret every data stream and measurement. The German investors leaned forward with collective anticipation. Victoria's smartphone captured every moment for thousands of online viewers who'd become invested in this unlikely engineering drama. "Start the engine," Dr. Rodriguez commanded. The ignition key turned with a metallic click that echoed through the silent boardroom like a gunshot. 200 people held their breath as the engine awakened, its initial rumble filling the space with mechanical thunder. But something was different. Immediately, unmistakably different. The harsh, irregular knocking that had plagued the engine for 6 weeks was gone. In its place, a smooth purring emerged. The sound of 8 cylinders firing in perfect synchronization. Each combustion chamber contributing to a harmony that made Dr. Rodriguez's eyes widen with recognition. This was what automotive perfection sounded like. Jamal stood beside the engine, his hand resting lightly on the vibrating surface. Where once he'd felt the desperate struggle of components fighting against each other, now he sensed the calm confidence of machinery operating within its natural rhythm. The harmonic dampener had worked exactly as his grandfather's wisdom had predicted. The diagnostic screens exploded with green indicators for the first time in 42 days. Temperature readings stabilized in optimal ranges. Pressure sensors registered perfect compression across all cylinders. The AI system's error messages vanished, replaced by steady streams of operational data that made the engineering team gasp in collective amazement. "Mein Gott," Klaus Mueller whispered, his German composure cracking as he stared at readings that his own Munich engineers had dreamed of achieving. The engine was operating at 97.3% efficiency. 3 percentage points higher than theoretical maximum performance. Dr. Rodriguez moved between diagnostic stations like a conductor reading sheet music, her trained eyes absorbing data that told an incredible story. Oil pressure steady at optimal. Engine temperature holding at 187 Fahrenheit. Harmonic frequency locked at 3400 RPM with 0 deviation. She looked up at Jamal with something approaching reverence. "In 40 years of automotive engineering, I've never seen diagnostic readings this clean. Your grandfather would be proud." The real test came when Victoria, her face pale with growing realization, demanded the full operational challenge. "Fine, it's running. But can it actually power our autonomous vehicle systems under real-world conditions?" Through the boardroom's floor-to-ceiling windows, employees could see Tech Vanguard's prototype delivery truck parked in the courtyard below. The vehicle had sat motionless for weeks, its advanced navigation systems useless without a functioning power source. Jamal nodded toward the truck with quiet confidence. "Let's see what she can do." The engine's power flowed through transmission systems, electrical generators, and computerized networks with the smoothness of water finding its level. Dashboard lights illuminated in sequence as the autonomous vehicle's brain came online for the first time in 6 weeks. GPS systems activated. Radar sensors began scanning. Camera arrays focused with mechanical precision. The crowd pressed against the windows as the truck's headlights brightened, its electric systems drawing power from the perfectly synchronized engine. Slowly, almost ceremonially, the vehicle began to move. It backed out of its parking space with computer-controlled precision, navigated around landscaping obstacles, and executed a flawless parallel parking maneuver that drew spontaneous applause from the watching employees. For 37 minutes, the engine ran without a single irregularity. The dreaded 14-minute shutdown point passed without incident. 20 minutes beyond that, the systems continued operating with German engineering precision, powered by American innovation and guided by Detroit mechanical wisdom. Klaus Mueller's assistant was typing furiously on her tablet, documenting performance metrics that exceeded every specification in their original investment proposal. The other German investors huddled in rapid conversation, their expressions shifting from skepticism to amazement to barely contained excitement about partnership possibilities. Victoria's live stream had attracted over 50,000 viewers. The comments section scrolling too rapidly to read individual messages. Tech industry professionals, automotive engineers, and random internet observers were witnessing something unprecedented. A maintenance worker solving problems that had stumped teams of credentialed experts. "Shut it down," Dr. Rodriguez finally commanded. "We've seen enough." The engine settled into silence with the satisfied sigh of machinery that had finally found its purpose. The diagnostic screens maintained their green glow for several seconds before fading to standby mode. The autonomous truck returned to its parking space and powered down its systems with electronic contentment. The boardroom remained silent for long moments as the magnitude of what had just occurred settled into collective consciousness. 6 weeks of failure had been resolved in under 2 hours by someone whose official job description included emptying waste baskets. Dr. Rodriguez walked to Jamal, extending her hand with formal respect. That was extraordinary engineering intuition. Where others saw software problems, you heard mechanical poetry. Your solution was elegant, cost-effective, and brilliant. Klaus Mueller approached next, his handshake firm with German approval. Herr Washington, your diagnostic methodology impressed our entire delegation. This is the kind of innovative thinking that builds industrial partnerships. Victoria stood frozen near the windows, her smartphone still recording a live stream that had become her own professional obituary. The comments were no longer about Jamal's inevitable failure. They were celebrating his triumph and questioning her leadership judgment. Dr. Rodriguez's voice cut through the boardroom silence with the authority of someone who'd never been questioned about engineering decisions. Based on this demonstration, I'm making an immediate recommendation to the board. She turned to face Klaus Mueller and the German investors, her words carrying the weight of 4 decades in automotive engineering. Jamal Washington has demonstrated exceptional diagnostic capability and innovative problem-solving that exceeds anything I've witnessed from traditional engineering teams. His analysis was mathematically sound, his solution was elegant, and his execution was flawless. Klaus Mueller nodded with Germanic precision. Our delegation concurs completely. Herr Washington's methodology impressed our entire technical evaluation team. He paused, checking notes on his assistant's tablet. We are prepared to increase our investment commitment by 20%, specifically contingent on Mr. Washington leading our European engine development program. The boardroom erupted in whispers. A 20% increase meant an additional €20 million. Funds that could transform Tech Vanguard from a promising startup into a global automotive power player. Furthermore, Dr. Rodriguez continued, her fountain pen poised over official documentation, I'm bypassing normal promotion protocols to offer immediate advancement to senior engine diagnostics engineer, effective immediately. The salary adjustment will reflect market value for someone with demonstrated expertise in advanced harmonic engineering. Victoria's live stream comments exploded with celebration. Viewers were sharing the stream across professional networks. Several competing tech companies were already reaching out through social media with recruitment offers. The hashtag Jamal Washington began trending as automotive engineers worldwide discussed the technical brilliance they'd just witnessed. Marcus Brooks stepped forward from the MIT-trained engineering team, his expression a mixture of humility and professional respect. Our entire team formally apologizes for overlooking your insights. We request collaboration on future projects, and we'd be honored to learn from your diagnostic methodologies. The transformation was complete. In less than 2 hours, Jamal had evolved from invisible maintenance worker to respected senior engineer. From overlooked janitor to sought-after technical leader. The German partnership was secured. The engine crisis was resolved. and Tech Vanguard's future was brighter than anyone had imagined. But the most satisfying moment was yet to come. The boardroom's atmosphere shifted like a storm front moving across Silicon Valley. What had begun as Victoria's public humiliation theater was now her professional reckoning. The German investors exchanged meaningful glances, their expressions revealing calculations that extended far beyond technical assessments. Klaus Mueller's assistant whispered urgent updates about social media reaction. The live stream had reached over 100,000 viewers, with tech industry leaders sharing the video across LinkedIn and Twitter. Comments ranged from celebration of Jamal's triumph to harsh criticism of Victoria's leadership style. Tech Vanguard drama was trending alongside engineering justice. Dr. Rodriguez closed her leather notebook with deliberate finality, her fountain pen clicking with the sound of decisions being made. The board will require a comprehensive review of management practices that led to this situation. Specifically, how qualified personnel were systematically underutilized while expensive consulting teams failed to achieve basic operational objectives. Victoria's face had drained of color, her confident corporate mask cracking under the weight of very public consequences. She'd orchestrated this challenge expecting easy victory, never anticipating that her victim would possess the very expertise her company desperately needed. The German delegation has concerns, Klaus Mueller announced, his precise English carrying undertones that made venture capitalists nervous. Our partnership requires confidence in leadership decision-making. Today's events suggest systematic evaluation errors that could impact our joint venture success. Board member Patricia Brooks, who'd remained silent during the technical demonstration, now spoke with the authority of someone holding significant stock options. This incident will require investigation by our governance committee. We need to understand how a senior engineering consultant was relegated to maintenance duties while his expertise could have prevented 6 weeks of operational failure. The investigation wouldn't take long. Victoria's email history provided damning evidence of discriminatory practices. Messages referring to Jamal as the cleaning guy despite his official consultant title. Deliberate scheduling of his janitorial duties during important investor meetings. Documented discussions about his inevitable termination as cost-cutting theater. Human Resources Director Jennifer Walsh, who'd participated in the cruel email threads with laughing emojis, found herself summoned to emergency meetings about hostile workplace environment policies. The viral video had become legal evidence, and corporate lawyers were already discussing settlement strategies. 2 weeks later, the consequences crystallized with surgical precision. Victoria was demoted from Chief Executive Officer to Strategic Advisor, a title that sounded impressive but carried no real power. Her salary was reduced by 40% while her decision-making authority evaporated. She retained employment. The board wasn't interested in wrongful termination lawsuits. But her corporate power had been neutered completely. The diversity and inclusion training requirement felt particularly poetic. Victoria, who'd spent 3 years dismissing Jamal's potential, now sat through workshops about unconscious bias and inclusive leadership. Her trainer was Dr. Rodriguez, who approached education with the same methodical precision she applied to engineering problems. Meanwhile, Jamal's transformation continued beyond individual success. His promotion to senior engineering diagnostics came with a 150% salary increase, stock options, and leadership of a task force on inclusive innovation practices. The company implemented new policies requiring formal review of all employee suggestions, regardless of source or current position. Tech Vanguard's stock price rose 15% following the positive publicity. The viral video had become an unexpected marketing asset, demonstrating the company's commitment to recognizing talent wherever it emerged. Recruitment applications increased by 40%, with many candidates specifically mentioning the inspiring story of meritocracy triumph. The most satisfying moment came 3 months later when Victoria approached Jamal privately in the employee cafeteria. Her designer suit had been replaced with more modest professional attire, her arrogant demeanor softened by hard lessons about humility and respect. "I owe you an apology," she said quietly, her words carrying genuine remorse. "And I'd like to ask for guidance about building more inclusive leadership practices." Jamal looked at her with the same grace his grandfather had shown to customers who'd initially doubted his mechanical expertise. Everyone deserves a chance to grow, Victoria. The question is whether you're ready to listen with the same attention you'd give to a machine that needs repair. 6 months later, Jamal Washington stood in Tech Vanguard's expanded engineering facility, watching German technicians install equipment for the European autonomous vehicle production line. His designs now powered delivery trucks across Munich, Frankfurt, and Berlin, their engines purring with the harmonic perfection he'd discovered in a moment of corporate desperation. The framed community college diploma still hung in his apartment, but now it shared wall space with patents, industry awards, and a photograph of him shaking hands with Klaus Müller at the Munich Auto Show. His grandfather's garage wisdom had evolved into million-dollar engineering decisions that bridged continents. Samuel Washington's voice echoed in his mind one last time: the engine doesn't care about your diploma or your skin color. It only responds to those who truly listen to its heartbeat. Sometimes the most powerful expertise comes wrapped in the most unexpected packages. The question isn't who has the degrees. It's who has the dedication to truly understand the problem. And sometimes, the person everyone overlooks is the one who's been listening all along.